Alrighty, folks. With me on the Zoom, I got Mr. Johnny Bourbon of the Roof Rabbits, of Harley Bourbon, and of Johnny Bourbon. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, man. So, we just put out your live album live at the Volcanic Theater.
Yeah.
That was fucking a really good album, man. And honestly, I was gonna pack it in as far as the label goes, but when you showed me that, I was like, oh fuck, man, I really wanted to see that album on some kind of printed form and not just
Yeah.
so simple and probably limited copies, but it got done, and I'm pretty happy that was the last project that I ever did on the label. And just beautiful songs, man. And it's hard to capture something that good live, I think, man. And I think just where you were at in that moment when you're recording that is probably a lot of why it turned out good, and
Yeah.
yeah. And then the sound guy must have did a pretty good job at catching whatever it was you had going too. So,
Oh yeah, they're always great there. I think that was Phil. I think his last name is McIntyre.
mhm.
He great sound guy at Volcanic.
Nice.
Always the best shows when he's running the booth for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've been doing a lot of cool shit, man. I'm gonna try. You got a show coming up with Sarah Shook here in a couple months, don't you? When is that?
March 26th.
Fuck, I might try to make that. That's 3 days before I go in for knee surgery. So I might try to make that my last hoorah before I fucking go into fucking hibernation for about a month to recover.
Right. Hear
But
ya.
yeah, I've never.
What's going on with that? Did you blow your knee out at some point or?
Yeah, I blew my ACL out in a car wreck last summer.
Brutal.
Just
Yeah.
waiting. COVID's got everything set back, and
Mhm.
just so yeah. So yeah, I might go up and see that though. I've wanted to see her live for quite a while now, and it's pretty cool that you're getting to open up.
Mind lately, man. I remember kind of listening to the first ones that were coming out on the label when I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago when they first kind of started pushing her on Bloodshot Records.
Yeah.
And seeing those like really kind of simple videos she was putting out where it's just like her and the guitar, even though the band is going or whatever, they're very like lo-fi, kind of like home video style music videos. And like that was right when that kind of came out, I was like listening to her quite a bit, like me and my roommates at the time, and then just like wasn't paying attention for a while. And then all the stuff she's putting out now, after I I got word of this show, then I started like listening to everything she's been putting out, and dude, she's phenomenal. Like I feel like one of my favorite artists for sure right now going into this is like listening to all of her newer stuff, like even the stuff that's more like, because it's not at all pop country, but the stuff that leans pop a little bit, and then there's stuff that leans almost like 60s 70s rock a little bit. Like some of her top songs right now are almost like a rock and roll fucking Beatles song or something. She's just her songwriting is getting fucking awesome, but just that little down home twist.
I just really love her voice, man. Fuck, her voice.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. You got some other shit coming up too, man. What other shows you got coming on?
So it just got confirmed. There's like word floating around about maybe doing the Possessed by Paul James show from Derek at the Volcanic. He was gonna, he told me it was coming up. He's like, put your name in the hat. And with any of those shows, I basically take, my demo, my music, whatever my set is at the time, and we have to submit it to their management. So I was like, I really only want 3-4 shows in the next 4 months because I need to start recording this studio album. And I really only want 3 or 4 shows. I want them to be good ones all the way up until May, when I'm hoping to release this, like the studio album that'll have like, you know, accompaniment on the songs and everything. And so anyway, some names were coming up in the calendar, and he had already booked me for the Sarah Shook show. Her management, like the tour manager, had to like hear the song and approve me, right? So there's always a few people that are like in the running to do that show. And so once again, like her tour manager picked me. Then we confirmed in April, Scott H. Byram, April 12th. I'm going to play with him again. And I haven't played with Scott since like in the really early days of Harley Bourbon. I got to do some shows with him at a place called the Horned Hand. And they were always
Horned Hand.
On bills. Yeah,
I didn't know Byram played the Horned Hand.
Oh, a couple times.
With Wesley?
That's how I met a lot of these guys in the really early days. Like, we played with White Buffalo and shit. It's pretty crazy, you know, like to look back at where everybody is now, and we were just 20, 21, 22-year-old kids getting some really cool shows, you know. Fun times for sure. But that I haven't played a set with him since like the very beginning of Harley Bourbon. And so now, you know, the materials come a long way. I think my songwriting's come a long way. And so it'll just be cool to like share a stage again, you know, with him. But anyway, aside from that, the third one in the lineup from now till May that I really wanted to get on was the Possessed by Paul James show, because he's I've never shared a stage with him, and I've wanted to for a very long time. He's one of my favorites, and their management just approved me like a week ago. So
I was, you know, honestly, man, I was about to kind of talk a little shit about like how, you know, it's kind of new to me that management is like approving the opening act, which I guess it kind of makes sense.
The tour manager.
I was about to kind of talk a little shit about that, but you know, maybe it's working out to your advantage, because sometimes, man, a lot of people will probably put their homies band up there, you know, and this way, you know, that these people are digging what you're doing, you know, and
it feels good.
Yeah, man. Fuck yeah.
Like, you know,
and
it's like a little bit of feedback, you know,
it might open up an opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
If these people like,
what's that?
Well, and if those people like you, it might open up an opportunity. And man, I've been saying it for a long time that you're probably one of the most underrated cats that I know, especially as far as your songwriting goes, man. I just feel like you should be way more out there than you are.
I think part of that is my fault too. Like I don't completely understand marketing your music online and all the shit. And you know, every little seminar or whatever is like clickbait. You know, like
stupid. Yeah.
And it's like I know some people who have done really well at that, and a lot of them have management. And so my part of it in the back of my head has just been like, well, I need to make the right album and then find the right management, and then we can go from there. So there, you know, there's been quite a few years where I was kind of just laying low, or I'm focusing on Roof Rabbits. In the beginnings of that band, like we haven't been able to travel because, you know, Sam had his first kid, the kid was baby, that kind of stuff. Like we didn't have a lot of travel options. And so part of it was just me and the way that I chose to invest my time, and I wasn't on the road more. It's part of the reason more people haven't heard it. You know, it's like if you want people to hear it, you got to take it to them, and I haven't done that as much as I'd like to. I've mostly stayed regional, but that's kind of where this album is going. Is like now I'm going to be recording this studio album, and that is my goal. I think sometime this summer or next fall, I'm going to road trip it all the way to Texas. I got some people over there. I got friends along the way, and just like play shows and actually start like touring on this material, you know? So yeah, a lot of that as far as like underrated, I appreciate the term, but you know, the truth is just not as many people have heard it or have had access to it, you know?
Yeah, I think that's it. And that's a lot of cases too, with some other people, either, you know, like you said, that it's partly their fault, or some of them are self-destructive too. You know, a lot of the people I know that should be bigger than they are, really self-destructive, and they kind of are their own worst enemy. But with you, I've always been like, if you'd get out there, I knew I'd had a lot of faith in you if you'd get out there and do it. Even since Harley Bourbon, man.
We
I was
tried. Yeah, we
You're
tried to
one
get
of
out
the
there a
few
little bit.
people. I was actually stoked you got a hold of me when you were in Harley Bourbon to play Ruckus, because I'd been listening to you guys for a minute, and you guys are
You'd
picking up.
already come over and played in Bend. I think that's how we met. Was
Yeah,
like I think you came over to play in Bend in like 2012 or something.
yeah, we played. I played at the Horned Hand with
Right.
Felix, and then I played a couple other places. I played with your old bass player Casey when he was in Boxcar String Band. I might say have it.
Yeah, they still do that, man. You know.
Yeah. And he's in
Yeah.
another band with my friend Nuck up in Seattle too, called The Phrase.
The Frames.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're really good too. But
Yeah, funny you bring up Casey, because he's as much time as I can get him for, he's going to play bass on this album.
Oh, cool.
So about half of the songs that we released on the live album are going to be on the studio album, and Casey's going to play bass.
Good, man. That was going to be I can't wait to hear it, man. That live one, man. Like I said, it's really rare for a live album to catch me like that too, man. So
there is a certain feeling that has to be in the air for like every song to kind of turn out well. And like the last few acoustic sets that I've done since then at Volcanic have all been really good, and I'm getting a little more because the sound is just so good in there.
mm-hmm.
And even at like rowdier shows, I've got people to like come up close and get really quiet, and they're listening, and it's like it's the opposite of a dance party. It's almost like a poetry recital or something.
There's a new breed of fans out there, man, that
Right.
are coming, and it's nice because, you know, you and I, we came up with in the root scene.
You had to be as loud as you fucking could be.
Well, usually I was an acoustic guy opening up for guys like the Goddamn Gallows or the 357 String Band, or, you know, the Sawyer Family, shit like that, man. And like people wanted to get rowdy then, and I've always been more of a songwriter. So this newer crowd, the younger crowd, they're starting to appreciate the Sad Bastard music a little bit more, you know. And
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think some of the roots of country are coming back, and I think when Hank 3 first kind of kicked it off, it kind of started, but people, I mean, they still wanted that rowdy.
That's still rowdy, you know, that kind of hellbilly deluxe kind of music, even just playing off of fucking Rob Zombie in a way, right? Like Hank 3 is such a metalhead.
Yeah.
It's like how do you take this like aggression and like funnel it into your roots and everything else? And coming from that family, it's got to be country, you know. And I think that appealed to that whole crowd. That's like, you know, Pantera was Southern music.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? So it's interesting that like everybody was always waiting for some kind of rowdy like country music, and that definitely got me going down the path of like falling in love with old country music, because I moved in with my brother in Mossy Rock, Washington when I was like 19 or something. I had left Grace Harbor, which is where I went to high school. It's where Kurt Cobain was from.
That's where my wife's from too. Is up in that area.
Yeah.
So you probably heard everybody talk about LeRoy forever.
Yeah, and exactly. It's so funny. I just ran into him last time I was up there in Westport.
I heard he's in the area.
Yeah, it was. You know. I hear a fucking funny story about LeRoy. One time at Ruckus, we were there, and me and him kind of came from the same place. And like LeRoy used to be very different years ago, right? I mean, you catch him on a good day, catch him on a bad day. And I tried. We were at the bar. Is it Bucknam's?
Yeah,
the bar there in Heppner.
Uh-huh.
So it's like first night of Ruckus, and I was doing an acoustic set in the bar, and like LeRoy was hanging out, just like head down at a table in the middle of the room, just like, I don't know if he was fucking sleeping or what. He's just like posted, and didn't look like he was in a very good mood. And I came up and like tried to introduce myself, and he totally like blew me off. And I was like, man, dick move. Like, I'm just trying to be nice. LeRoy's all just like shutting me down. And I was like, he was probably just hungover or whatever. And whatever, night goes on. I play my set, don't really think anything about it. And like, I see this completely, years go by, right? And he's been in Reno all this time. And this is last fall. We go up to do a fishing trip. Me and my brother, my uncle, my dad, we all get together to do like a fishing trip out of Westport, going to catch rockfish and lingcod and shit. And I get to see one of my best homies I grew up with, Austin. He lives in Ocean Shores, right around the corner from Westport, like right across the bay. And so he comes to hang out, and we're just having this like men's like reunion, whole family, all that, drinking beer, going fishing. And so like at the very end of this, 2-day bender, going out on the boat, coming back, eating fresh fish. You're in Westport, it's raining. We're standing on the roof of the hotel. There's like a smoking area on the roof of this little motel. And I'm standing there, and me and Austin are having like our final words of the weekend, like, oh, I'm gonna miss you, man, And this car pulls up at a stop sign down below in fucking pissing down rain, and the guy just gets out of his car and in the middle of the road, and he goes, "Hey, that's a nice hat." And I'm wearing one of my hats, that I make, like the one I'm fucking always wearing. And I go, "Thanks, man. I made it." And I'm like, how the fuck do I recognize this guy? And I think it's LeRoy. And I go, "Is that LeRoy?" And he's yelling from the street, "What?" Stand in the middle of the road. I go, "What's your name?" And he goes, "LeRoy." I said, "Hold on a second. I'm coming down there. Hold on. You got a minute?" Okay. And my friend Austin just looks at me like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Oh, that's the singer of Hellbound Glory." And he fucking loves that band. He's like, "What?" I grab him and we run down there. And all of a sudden we're talking to LeRoy in the middle of the fucking road. And he's fucking coming down, tripping on mushrooms all night. So he's still kind of like tripping. It's like 7 a.m. Okay. He's been up all night tripping on mushrooms. I love it. And I go, "Oh yeah, dude, remember me?" "Oh yeah." He's like, "Man, I need a hat." It's like, "Well, come down to Bend. We'll make you a hat. Like, get together." Okay. And then he looks at Austin and we catch up, whatever. And he looks at my buddy. He goes, "Well, where are you from?" "Okay, you're in Bend. Where are you from?" And Austin goes, "Oh, me, I live in Shores." He goes, "Oh, we should jam sometime." And Austin's just like, "What?" He's so stoked. He's like, LeRoy just said, "Okay." And he goes, "Here, give me your number or something." And so Austin takes out his phone and he goes, "Okay, what's your number?" And LeRoy goes, "My number?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, my number is 6. It's so funny because it's like that first thing in the morning, you're still kind of tripping. We're kind of still drunk. And my number is 6. And we just start dying. And then he said, "Okay." And he looks at him all serious, like, "All right." And then he said, 6, 6, 6. "Oh, okay." And then he actually gave his number, and it was a very funny moment. Yeah. And he drove off, and I just saw LeRoy last fall.
Interesting.
Super random.
Yeah, that's how he's always been with me too, man. Hit or miss. That Ruckus, he kind of fucked me on. I haven't been real happy with him, but he's been nice on other occasions.
Yeah. Yeah, it seemed like he was kind of in a funky spot at that Ruckus. And then
I think
was weird.
with age, he might have got better.
Person. Yeah.
I think he was kind of in a shitty spot at that Ruckus too, but he kind of had a chip on his shoulder around that time too.
Yeah.
When LeRoy first started, I was actually in Seattle when he was living up that way, and he wasn't really known for his fucking attitude until later, after he left like the Seattle area. And then now everybody's saying he's pretty cool again. So I think it's just kind of shit going page week. Yeah, well, he's got a kid, and I think he's had a divorce and shit, so life gets all of us, man. I'm sure that people thought I've thought I'm an asshole too, and
I've definitely had those moments, not with you, with me personally thinking, yeah, I bet I bet I didn't handle that situation as good as I could have.
Oh yeah,
Whatever.
you know, it is what it is.
Especially in music, you know, it's a lot of times it's late, you're drinking, you're tired, you're hungry.
Well, I
Whatever.
like to say, I started saying this new thing. We're all narcissists, you know. You have to be a little narcissist.
Everybody is to some degree, yeah.
Especially artists, man, and especially musicians. You know.
Well, it's tough. It's either that or you completely hate yourself, you know, which is usually me, and really trying to like grow out of that, where it's like, you know, but even then, you hold yourself to some standard, and that's what makes you so judgmental. And I guess maybe that is a little narcissistic, you know?
Yeah, well, that, and I think we all want to be heard. I think you know, we all want a little attention, even if we're saying, hey, we don't want attention.
That's a human trait, though. You know what I mean? Like children, if you look at, like, you know, when kids' brains are little sponges, like the first thing most of them want to do is like be seen. They're like, hey, me, what's going on with me? This is let me join the fun. Hey, this is what I think. You know, children are generally like that until like something traumatic happens or disciplinary happens that makes them not be like that, right? In my opinion.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think we all want to be seen, is what I'm saying. You know, it's like that's kind of what social media has exposed and or taken advantage of. Is that like everybody's need to be seen, and how that is gravely depressing as well, because people don't always get the acceptance or whatever that they hope to, and it's causing major psychological problems.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, man. I think what it's done is it's kind of made us all focus on what we don't have instead of focusing on what we do have.
Yeah, totally.
Constantly making us compare ourselves to others, you know. So I definitely miss the days.
Which we did already. It's made it worse, you know.
I definitely miss the days where there was less social media, you know, and I love the days of MySpace, man.
That's what I was just thinking of too. Yeah. Perfect. It's like you and I probably still would have connected on MySpace. Like, oh, you do this festival in Hefner, you know? Like,
same. It would have let me promote it better. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah.
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 I hate the fact that Facebook is just so anti-music. Like, I don't know what the fuck that site has against music.
Dude, everything, external links of any kind. I mean, you upload a video from YouTube, because Facebook doesn't own YouTube, they suppress that link. So if you ever just like the song and you share the YouTube video, it gets like 1 view, 1 like, whatever, because like it just gets buried. If it's not from Facebook, at least from what I've heard. I don't know that this is true, but like I've heard that from programmers and shit. And it's like they just bury the shit in the algorithm if it doesn't belong to Facebook.
Yeah.
That's why, like, if you release a music video or something on your Facebook, you have to like upload it to Facebook. Don't upload it to YouTube and then share the YouTube link, because it'll get like exponentially less. It's crazy, but it is what it is. I don't understand any of that shit. I don't want any part of it. That's back to the same thing.
That's a big reason I shut the label down, is like I can't figure it out, and I don't know if I want to. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I think I'd rather.
I thought I wanted to start like a little label for local bands here, and just like, oh, like, yeah, well, we could print some of our own shit, package our own shit, ship it out. I live in a warehouse, you know, like in Alfalfa. And so it looked like it could have happened. And then the further I got down that rabbit hole, I was like, I don't know how much of the responsibility I want to take for this. It's like everybody wants to be a part of something like that. Like, we were going to do it together, but then a lot of it ends up being like me, the one who's going to do it. You know, I'm going to be in charge of shipping out your band's shit. And I was like, I don't think I want to do that. I think I need to focus on just making the art for now. You know, it's important. I mean, that label shit's, it's hard work, man.
That's why I'm going back to it a little bit. Like, you know, I mean, that's why I'm going back to just like kind of focusing on making it a little more again, you know, is it's been rough. It takes a lot out of your own personal um art as well. You know, I haven't had the motivation to try to focus on my own shit, you know. It's because
Right.
I'm focusing on everything else, you know, and I'll get back to it because I've always, man, it was pretty painful to get rid of Ruckus and the Boonies, you know. I sink a lot of energy and shit into that to let it just die. But it got to the point where it was like getting worse and worse every year, and it was just fucking trying to get blood from a stone eventually. And you got to know when
It
to
is,
nip
and
it in
it's
the
a
bud.
hard place to do it, man. It's like you did a really great job of booking and all that kind of stuff, but it's like getting people to go to Hefner
Mhm.
is a challenge. You
Yeah,
know, it's fun the times we did, but it is off the beaten path. Even this is crazy, but even like Bend is off the beaten path for like some touring acts because we're not on the I-5. It's
yeah,
like, you know what I mean? There's
mhm.
some tourists, literally, they'll just go right around. They'd rather go fucking straight from California to Portland on the 5 than to have to go through mountains and shit to get to Bend. And it's shot us in the foot fucking many times here. And this is a well-established area. So
Mhm.
trying to get, people out to Hefner is it's
Yeah.
fucking tough, man. And I mean, then again, some festivals in some little towns that are super established, like if you look at, um,
Steamboat.
yeah, some stuff like that, or stuff that's kind of coming up, like what is it, Chinook Fest or whatever up in
Oh, yeah.
Washington. Shit like that is like it's starting to come. Most of those places are pretty middle of nowhere, but it's just different traffic lines. They're on bigger highways.
Yeah, and they got the money to afford bigger headliners, you know, and in our venues, I mean, we never
Yeah,
had a
there's people
night.
around to sponsor that shit, right?
Yeah,
There wasn't a ton of people that could sponsor much in Hefner. Your community definitely had your back a bunch of times, I think, but nothing. The businesses aren't big enough to
yeah.
to sponsor something that's big, huge.
And we just never had like that ideal spot to have it either, you know. And then there's just, I think if we would have had a piece of property someplace that where we could have just did it with no rules, it would have probably been better. You know, I
Yeah.
think just
Yeah.
people would have had a little better time, kind of like Muddy Roots, you know. Because Muddy Roots
Yeah.
isn't necessarily um not necessarily like easy to get to, you know.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say like a piece of property means no rules. You have to respect the property.
Yeah, but I
But I
just
think
mean
when
like
you give people that chance, they want to do something like that. We threw a show here for my birthday last year, had like just my band and friends' bands play in the barn, and had like over 100 people come out to my family's property where there's multiple houses on the property, but my sister and her family live here. My parents live here. My grandma lives here. So it's really imperative that anybody who showed up was like on the level, right? And doesn't, there's kids here and shit. So it was like really important that everybody was on their best behavior. And like I threw that out there when I threw the party, and everybody was awesome. And it's that type of thing where I literally knew everybody who came to my property though. And that was really important because especially for something that you're doing for the first time or whatever. Um, but turned out to be just a really cool show. And everyone's like, when are we going to do this again? And I was like, probably not for another year at least, because it was a fucking blowout of a party. But yeah, I think you should take, I mean, everything that you did with Ruckus, um, you you pulled some fucking big shit off, and you worked your ass off. And I think that you pulled people together, at least bands. And even though, some things fell apart here and there, you have to take, if you look at everything good that happened and the experience that you gained from that, I don't think that you just need to like throw out the idea of Ruckus.
Yeah.
But as an events coordinator, which is ultimately what you did, and more, you can apply that idea just like you've done Ruckus in Tacoma or whatever. Like, I don't know what you call all those shows, but you've done those kind of events. Man, I think use that in your resume to try to work with other people to throw festivals somewhere else, you know.
That's kind of the plan.
Like, you plus a couple other people and the right funding, whatever, like what you've done on your own is huge. If you were a part of a team, I mean, you have a knack for it, man. You know, it's like none of that, I just want you to know that doesn't go unnoticed from people who participated in it a lot of years. It's like you put the shit together, and you also brought a lot of really fucking cool bands together, and we were able to network through that. And, you know, the idea was pure, you know, it didn't, and it was always more work for you. At the end of the weekend, you looked fucking utterly exhausted and you're like, fuck, I don't ever want to do this again. And then you do it again, you know, because your heart's in it, you know, to some degree. So maybe just not have all of it on your shoulders. If you were to team up with some other people, find another place, throw Ruckus in the records or just Ruckus tagline on as a promoter, as an organizer, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then you might still have a lot to do in that field. And I think, you know,
I mean, I haven't wrote it off. I'm just taking a breath, you know, and same with the label. And I was kind of going the same with the label too, is kind of thinking about who I can ring in to do something brand new, you know, somebody that does know how to run Facebook and all that bullshit, and somebody who does know how to run tax shit and stuff like
now
that.
Facebook,
you know?
just wants money for everything. I mean, that's it, literally.
The shitty thing is I've given them money. I've given them a lot of money, and I still feel like, especially for ads for Ruckus.
Yeah.
Yep. I gave them probably $500 one year to advertise Ruckus. I didn't get dick out of it. You know, I was like, I felt like, I don't know, man, maybe it was, I was like, I either need to take this as a sign or like Facebook is fucking me over, you know, and
totally.
Maybe it's a little column A and column B, but I felt like they were kind of fucking me over. Like they're like, unless you're wanting to throw a lot of fucking money at them, they don't give a fucking shit, you know?
No, they don't. That's true. That's true.
And then everybody tells me like, oh, you have to use the right words and shit. You know, I'm like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
Why is it got to be rocket science? You know?
Dude, that's how I feel about Spotify and shit too. There's supposed to be all these like avenues for like, this is how you get your music on bigger playlists, and like some of that works for sure. But like, you can't tell me that a lot of people aren't just paying for fucking listens, you know? This shit comes out at the end of the year, and it's like your band just started. Like your Instagram page has 400 followers or something, and you're like, and you got like 30,000 listens on your spot. Like, I don't know.
I know a little band out of Portland that paid a bunch of money to have their fucking YouTube fucking video viewed. They ended up blowing the fuck up because of that.
Right. Yeah.
So,
you know, it's crazy. Sometimes the right money spent in the right direction can actually have an impact, even if it's just views or whatever, because people, that's another thing. A lot of people they check out your Spotify page or something, and it's like you gravitate toward it more if it has 300,000 plays rather than 1,000. You know what I mean? You just go, oh, there's something here. Like people are fucking listening to it. And that's just your brain. That's just the back of your brain. That's your fucking ego. You know, it's like, oh, we just latch on to shit that other people think is cool because you don't want to be left in the dark, right? But if it's too many plays, then you're like, oh, that's popular music. Like millions of plays, you're like, I don't need to listen to this shit.
Yeah.
It's funny. Double-edged sword.
For sure. Yeah. Well, I appreciate the kind words, man, about Ruckus and stuff.
Oh yeah, you put in a hell of a lot of work, man. It's not. I don't know. We all notice. There's plenty of times where like I don't know how you're fucking pulling it off, putting all these people together, but we're happy you did. You know, I've had a lot of good times at Ruckus. Even though some of it was rough, some dry camping and some hot heat, but it's
Yeah.
fuck, dude. Some good times still.
Yeah.
Fuck, Harley Bourbon broke up at Ruckus. Actually,
Really?
AJ left the band at Ruckus, and I got blackout drunk after that. Our van, me and Sam were sleeping in the van, and the van was parked behind Nolan's bus because Nolan had bought a bus for his family to live in. They decked this thing out. Thankfully, it was diesel because he was running his diesel generator for the lights and everything in the heater. He was running that shit all night and pumping it right into the van. So like I went to get into the van and Sam is on his bunk, like passed out. He's sleeping, but it smells like diesel in there bad.
Oh
Had
shit.
it have been gasoline, I think my drunk mind would have told me like, don't go to sleep in here. But I literally like made the decision. I was like, I don't know, it's diesel. Can that still kill you? And I just went to bed. I just went in there. Sam was in there fucking sleeping. I mean, dude, pumping diesel fumes right into our window all night. And I woke up with just the pounding headache. Like we slept in diesel fumes. And had it have been fucking gasoline, we'd be dead, you know?
And that would have sucked.
Yeah, that would have been a terrible morning for all you guys.
Yeah.
Teach
I
you
forgot about that.
AJ.
I forgot that you guys had that guy in the bus with you with his family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had got that thing to live in, you know, and then move in after the band broke up, and they went to New York for a while and all kinds of shit.
They come back?
No, they live in Arizona.
Oh.
Yeah. Nolan.
I was gonna ask if you were ever thought about getting Harley Bourbon back together.
No. No. I did that once, and actually I did it more like 3 times, and I'm just ready for something else. And I think we started putting the Roof Rabbits together like during the final days of Harley Bourbon, you know. And like Nolan, our bass player from Harley Bourbon at the time, started playing Roof Rabbit songs with me and Sam and Sean. And it looked like AJ needed to back off to like focus on his family and stuff, you know. It was really why he wanted to leave the band, was one of the reasons. And it was like, man, that's what you got to do. And it was hard at the time because we were trying to get out of town quite a bit, and we were, and we made a couple trips, you know, down to California and stuff. But even on some of those, some of the other guys couldn't go. Like we did like half-ass versions of Harley Bourbon in California because Sam couldn't go, or because Nolan couldn't go, or whatever. So that never quite felt right either, you know. And at some point,
the Roof Rabbits? Do the Roof Rabbits feel right to you?
Yeah, it's weird.
Sounds
The
right.
Roof Rabbits are like the easiest going band I've ever been in. It's like when you come from like a semi dysfunctional relationship or a dysfunctional marriage, and then you're with somebody that's just really easygoing, and you're like, what the fuck was I doing all these other years? As far as like chemistry goes, you know, there's always been so many personalities in Harley Bourbon, which was cool. But definitely causes for chaos sometimes. We never really fought that much, but there was always like, you know, little things here and there. And with Roof Rabbits, we're just like, what do we want to do? Like the 3 of us look at each other, what do we want to do? Do we want to, you know, do we want to go out of town these days? Do we want to? It's pretty simple. And it's like Sam and Sean played together in Tuck and Roll for like a decade. So those guys are already brothers. Me and Sam go way back, from him being in the band, from me playing shows with his band. And then me and Sean go way back because Sean plays drums in Boxcar. Ever since before Harley Bourbon was ever a band, he plays in Boxcar with my friend Joe and Casey. And so me and Sean have known each other like 12 years or some shit. And at this point, you know, everyone's older and I'm the youngest, but I'm older. So it's like everything's pretty easy now, you know. The constraints is just like we can't just jump in a van and drive across the country or something. I'm still willing to do that because I'm the only one without like full-time employment or children, right?
Yeah.
And I made those decisions a long time ago to like, I don't know, be able to chase this as much as possible. But you're working around other people's families, and that's just, it makes scheduling for me a little easier because I'm like, yeah, I don't have shit going on.
That might come in handy with your solo stuff, man, for sure.
That's exactly where I'm going with that too, is there's a lot of people that might like Harley Bourbon or or they like the Roof Rabbits. But you know, plenty of times I'll just be playing my guitar around a bonfire at a party or whatever it is. And a lot of the consensus I get from most people who have seen me throughout all the years is like, man, this is the music that we need though. You know, this is the stuff that
it's medicine
we've been waiting for from you. Yeah. And that's important. The medicine aspect, which is one thing I'm definitely trying to focus on with this batch of songs and just with this material is I kind of did, I don't know, I think when I was in my early 20s, I came from this like punk rock scene and this kind of poor upbringing and everything. And it felt like when I first started playing in front of people, it's like what we were saying earlier, you had to yell as loud as you fucking could to be heard in some shitty bar with a shitty PA system. You know, you had to sing your ass off to make sure somebody would fucking notice, right? And that's what led to Harley Bourbon. That's why it was so rowdy. And then that genre kind of got more popular as time went on, even though everybody had their own different ways of going about it. But it's basically like folk music, you know, country influenced in my case. But punk rock at the same time, because it had that ethos and we did everything cheap and we did everything loud, you know. And with this stuff, I've matured, and I've always played songs like this in the past that were kind of more soulful and stuff, but you don't play those songs at the bars, you know.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Woo.
You all right?
Yeah, I haven't talked this much all week. I've been home with a cold.
Oh.
Yeah.
Could have fooled me.
Yeah. I'm starting to feel like yesterday I started feeling a little better. And today's been like the best so far, but my throat's all fucking dry.
Yeah, your face is a little red now too. Anyways, man, so I was talking with my kid earlier today, and we were talking about she's coming into her own musical taste now. She's almost 14 and she loves Against Me and a bunch of other shit. And but I was kind of talking about how like sometimes you can hear something and it doesn't strike you as like your favorite thing in the world, but it comes back to find you when you need it and you learn how to really appreciate it, you know? And that was kind of what I told her about like Nirvana, because I'm a huge Nirvana fan, which probably sounds really cliche or whatever, but I am.
No, I am too.
And they, well, you probably are too, man. And yeah, especially because that's like, you probably connect to that on a deeper level because of where you're from and you understand the mindset that guy was in when he was writing songs.
Maybe.
Well, I kind of feel that way about a lot of musicians from Aberdeen that really, they either hate him or they love him. But I feel like Aberdeen and that Grays Harbor area before I go too far where I was, that area is a special fucking place and not in a good way. You know,
Yeah,
that
exactly. Yeah, it's
place,
very dark.
as somebody who doesn't live there and has never been from there, but has been there quite a few times. And like my wife is from there. My daughter was born in that town.
Dude, you pull into town and it's like you feel this fucking
Feel it.
blanket fall. You.
Yep.
Yeah,
You fucking feel it suck the
you do.
fucking life out of you the second you get into fucking town. It's not in Montesano. It's not
Nope.
in some of the, it's just fucking the second you hit Aberdeen, there is some dark fucking thing that sucks
Yeah.
the life out of you. And I'm from Heppner fucking Oregon, where the sign says gateway to the fucking blues. And it's not a fucking goddamn, it's not because the fucking Blue Mountains are right there. You know, the fucking, that town's a son of a bitch too, but I'll tell you, it doesn't suck the fucking life out of you. When you're rolling to Heppner, a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is a cute little town." You've got to live in it to realize where its dark fucking shit comes from. But with Aberdeen, you feel it. You don't have to be from there. You don't have to fucking know. You feel it the second you go into it. But anyways, we were talking about how
I'm not wrong, man.
We're talking about like music finds you, and I was like, well, the first time I heard Nirvana, obviously, I wasn't in love with it. I was like, it found me when I needed it. And I really dug the Roof Rabbits when I heard them for the first time. But man, I played that album for probably 3 months straight. Fucking from about August to November.
Please don't let me hear another Roof Rabbit song now.
No, man, fucking that album really fucking, it's been a long time since I've been really in love with an album. And that one has been one of the few. The one that you put out before the 5-song one. I can't remember. It's like Creature something.
Creature Comforts, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one, man. I fucking love that fucking album, and front to fucking back, I could fucking listen to that album until. But yeah, that's one. The first time I heard it, I was like, these guys are really good, and I think I heard it around Ruckus. So like, at that time, I'm having shit just thrown at me, you know.
Yeah.
So the second I was like, I had time to sit down and actually listen to it. It was just also too, it's like the shit I was going through at the time too. That shit just hit me in the fucking chest. I don't think it helped my attitude get any better about things.
Yeah.
It kind of gave me a real fuck you attitude to everybody around me, but it's kind of what I needed, you know? So, but fuck, that's a great fucking album, man. And the Roof Rabbits, I'll be interested to see where you guys go as well, man. That's a good fucking band. You got a lot of good.
I have no plans of disbanding that project at any time. You know, it's like at one point, I think like where Harley Bourbon kind of led me to as a person was like we had a lot of great times, played a lot of great shows. Sometimes some of the more soulful stuff was rowdier than I really wanted to even present it. Like as I take a step back and I look back at it, and the way that I wrote some of those songs were very different from how they came across. And it sucks because there's a lot of really good material that never got recorded, and stuff that we played live that never got recorded. And some of the recordings happened in the very early days of playing those songs. And it's like, you know, some of our performances were so better than the albums. But anyway, what I've kind of learned is where I'm at now is just taking some of that soulful stuff and keeping it soulful, keeping it country. And then I have the Roof Rabbits for that like punk rock outlet, you know, which is sometimes just rock and roll, you know, sometimes punk. Whew, it's getting to me now.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, I'm pretty stoked on what you're doing. Like I said, I thought you're pretty underrated. I think good things are coming for you, though. I really feel like, especially with these things you're opening up, and now, or for these shows you're opening up, and now that I know that like these people's bookers have to approve you to be on their shows, like Yeah, and then I know this album's going to be good because the live album was good. So once you get in the studio, it's just going to get better when you get good pickers behind you and shit. So I'm
Right.
excited to see where you're heading, man. And I'm excited. I'm glad that I got to put that album out with you. I'm happy that I've got to work with you and shit. So I'm gonna try to make it down for the Sarah Shook show. Actually, I might even try to make it. Byram's. I'll probably be laid up for Byram, but
Yeah, that's gonna be April 12th, I think.
yeah, he's coming up. I was supposed to go see him in a couple weeks, but I'm fucking broke. So
Yeah,
it's coming up with Super Suckers is who he's touring with this time.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, good stuff.
But shit, man, I can hear your voice is getting a little rough, and I don't want to keep you on here too long. Is there anything you want to add before we take off?
No, I mean, not that I can really think of.
Cool.
I guess, yeah. So those shows coming up, the end of January, Possessed by Paul James. All of February, I should be in the studio, kind of working on that. Sarah Shook show, I'm gonna try to have the band with me at that point. So that'll have upright bass, drums, and fiddle and guitar, probably.
Wow, right on.
That's gonna be. We'll see if it comes together by then. If not, maybe by the Scott H. Byram show. We'll do it with the group, but kind of working around everyone's availability.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And seeing what we can do for that. Then I'm gonna hopefully release this studio album in May, early May. So yeah, that's so far. That's the game plan.
Right on, man. Well, I'm excited to hear what you got going. And yeah.
Thanks, man.
I'm happy to have you on. Thanks again for coming on, dude. And maybe we'll hit you up when the album comes out. We talk a little more.
All right. Thanks, dude.
Yeah, I'll see you later, Johnny.
All right, later.